History often highlights kings, emperors, and generals, but some of the most formidable leaders to ever command armies and rule empires were women, and Africa is home to some of the fiercest of them all. These warrior queens didn't just sit on thrones, they fought on battlefields, defended their people, and reshaped the destiny of entire nations. In this video, we're spotlighting formidable African warrior queens who led empires and armies with strength, strategy, and fearless leadership. From brilliant tacticians to unbreakable freedom fighters, these women prove that power has never belonged to one gender. It has always belonged to those bold enough to claim it. Before we dive into their legendary stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because their histories deserve to be heard, remembered, and celebrated. 5. Queen Candace of Kush. Queen Candace, also known as Kondake Amanirenes, ruled the Kingdom of Kush in what is now Sudan during the 1st century BC. She commanded one of the most powerful armies in Africa and wasn't afraid to challenge even the mighty Roman Empire. In 24 BC, when Roman forces attacked Kush, Candace led her army north and defeated them, capturing several Roman forts and even taking prisoners. Historical records describe her as a fierce warrior who lost an eye in battle but continued fighting undeterred. Her army pushed into Roman-controlled Egypt, sacking the city of Aswan and pulling down statues of Emperor Augustus. When Rome sent a massive army in retaliation, Candace used smart tactics to avoid direct confrontation while harassing Roman supply lines. Eventually, she negotiated a peace treaty with Rome as an equal, something very few leaders ever achieved with the Roman Empire. The treaty was so favorable that Kush never had to pay tribute to Rome, maintaining its independence and wealth. Under her leadership, Kush remained a prosperous kingdom with thriving trade routes and impressive architectural achievements. Queen Candace proved that African kingdoms could stand toe-to-toe with the greatest empires of the ancient world. 4. Ya Asantewa of the Ashanti Empire. Ya Asantewa was the queen mother of Ejisu in the Ashanti Empire, located in present-day Ghana. In 1900, when she was in her 60s, she led the Ashanti Rebellion against British colonial rule in what became known as the War of the Golden Stool. The British had exiled the Ashanti king and demanded to sit on the sacred Golden Stool, the spiritual symbol of the Ashanti nation. When the male leaders hesitated to fight, Ya Asantewa gave a powerful speech that shamed them into action, declaring that if the men wouldn't defend their nation, the women would. She personally commanded an army of thousands, leading them in a siege of the British fort at Kumasi that lasted for months. Her forces used guerrilla tactics and knowledge of the forest to their advantage, inflicting heavy casualties on British troops. The rebellion lasted from March to September 1900 and required thousands of British reinforcements to finally suppress it. Although the British eventually captured Ya Asantewa and exiled her to the Seychelles, her rebellion became a symbol of resistance. She forced the British to recognize that they could not simply impose their will on the Ashanti people without consequences. Ya Asantewa died in exile in 1921, but she remains a powerful symbol of courage and anti-colonial resistance in Ghana and beyond. 3. Queen Nanny of the Maroons. Queen Nanny was a remarkable and influential 18th century leader of the Jamaican Maroons, but her journey begins long before her resistance in the Caribbean. She was born in West Africa, most likely among the Akan or Ashanti people in present-day Ghana, societies known for strong military traditions, skilled leadership, and deep spiritual practices. Like millions of others during that era, she was violently captured and forced into the transatlantic slave trade. After being taken to Jamaica, she endured the brutal conditions of slavery, yet she refused to accept a life of bondage. At some point, Nani escaped into the rugged, forested interior of the island, joining and eventually leading the Maroons, communities of formerly enslaved people who had fled plantations and created their own independent settlements. She rose to prominence among the Windward Maroons, becoming both their spiritual mother and their military commander. Her leadership helped establish a secure, thriving settlement high in the Blue Mountains that came to be known as Nani Town. This community became a safe haven for countless enslaved Africans who risked their lives escaping the nearby plantations. Nani was not only a leader but also a strategic genius. She understood the mountainous terrain intimately and used it to her advantage. Under her command, Maroon warriors perfected guerrilla-style warfare, carrying out surprise attacks, staging ambushes, and disappearing into the forest before British soldiers could react. Her tactics were so effective that British troops repeatedly struggled to penetrate Maroon territory. 2. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. Queen Nzinga ruled in the 17th century in what is now Angola, and she became one of Africa's most skilled diplomats and military strategists. She took power in 1624, during a time when Portuguese colonizers were trying to enslave her people and take their land. Nzinga fought against Portuguese invasion for nearly 40 years, using both military tactics and clever diplomacy to protect her kingdom. She personally led her troops into battle, often dressing as a man and fighting alongside her soldiers. She formed strategic alliances with the Dutch and neighboring African kingdoms to strengthen her position against the Portuguese. She turned Matamba into a refuge for escaped slaves and those fleeing Portuguese oppression, building a powerful army from these displaced people. Her guerrilla warfare tactics frustrated the Portuguese for decades, and she never surrendered or accepted defeat. She negotiated peace treaties as an equal with European powers, refusing to be intimidated or treated as inferior. She ruled until her death at age 81, having successfully preserved her people's independence. Her legacy represents African resistance against colonialism and the fight for freedom and dignity. 1. Queen Amina of Zazzau. Queen Amina ruled the Hosa city-state of Zazzau in what is now northern Nigeria during the 15th century. She became queen around 1576 and immediately proved herself as a military genius. Amina personally led her army into battle, expanding Zazzau's territory and turning it into a major commercial center. She conquered numerous cities and built fortified walls around her territories, many of which still stand today and are called Amina's Walls. Under her leadership, Zazzau controlled the trade routes across the Sahara, bringing immense wealth to her kingdom. She ruled for 34 years and never lost a battle. Amina rejected marriage proposals from neighboring kings, choosing instead to focus entirely on military conquest and the prosperity of her people. Her strategic brilliance and warrior spirit made her one of Africa's most celebrated military leaders. Even after her death, her legend lived on, inspiring generations of African women to pursue leadership roles.